EJK here. Hello. And this is a user request video from, actually a comment request actually. User request would make no sense. From Frozen Calamity. And he requested the BByong versus Zest match played earlier last year. No. In November last year, in the Hot 6 Cup. Around the time, let's see, it said November 21st, so I believe it was a week or so after BlizzCon. And basically his question was, or his comment more or less was, BByong does insane multi-pronged aggression that got out of control. Not really a question, but we can turn it into a question by rephrasing it as, what did BByong do to turn his multi-pronged, or no, how did BByong spiral his multi-pronged aggression out of control? And that's what we're going to answer today in this video. There we go. I think it's on X2. Let's just do 1.25. Well, let's just do 1.0 right now. Let's just do normal speed. So, overgrowth. A little bit of context because this game was played December, about a little over a month ago. So we have to remember what was going on then. So at BlizzCon, Polt versus Classic game on Nimbus was when Classic pulled out this very interesting Colossi drop. Day 9 did a Day 9 video on it, a daily, about how this Colossi drop timing ends up hitting when Polt's medevacs are out on the field. And, you know, like, away from the base. It's kind of an anti-timing to the double medevac timing that we're so accustomed to seeing in this TvP matchup. Well, Zest ends up doing a similar thing, but I think he, because of how new it is, this build was just introduced to the world a little more than a week ago. He might not have had enough time to fully practice all of the ins and outs of this build, because what I saw in this game was him going for a 3-gate or a 3-gate third base rather than a 6-gate third base after seeing 5 barracks. This is actually Zest's first form of scouting with this Zealot right here. He's going to be able to see that there is no Reaper. The Mothership Core stays at home though because he isn't sure if there is or there is not a Reaper yet. And he wants to deny scouting because what he does as soon as he sees, so he sees the bunker, he sees the command center timing, he sees that there's only one Marine out, so he knows that it's command center first opening. And what he does to change his play is he adds on a third and fourth gas very quickly. He also adds on his robotics facility very quickly. And instead of making a second stalker like we traditionally see in this matchup against the Reaper expand, most Protosses usually go up to 2 to 3 stalkers. We see the third unit out of the gateway being a sentry rather than a stalker. All very slightly greedier openers that Zest is now able to do as a result of seeing that command center first opening. We see that robotics facility, it went down at about the 4-minute 55 mark. That's about a full 20 to 30 seconds faster than a Protoss player would normally throw down their tech if the Terran had opened up Reaper Expand. And we see these gases at the natural base. They're going to be done by the 6-minute mark-ish. That's extremely fast. He doesn't even have enough saturation at his natural to really, he barely has enough saturation actually to saturate these gases. So BByong does get to see these third and fourth gases taken with that SCV scout, so that SCV did not die in vain. He does know that it's not going to be some sort of very fast gateway all-in. It's going to be some sort of fast tech all-in. And we see here this robotics bay was thrown down at about the 6-minute 30 mark. That's insanely fast. In comparison, if you went a Mothership Core expand into an Oracle that was not proxied, the Oracle would get to your base, the Oracle would get to your base at about 7 minutes 7:15. This robotics bay is already starting a full minute before an oracle would even get to your base. And we also see that Zest is getting a warp prism, which I really like. Another greedy adjustment he does to change his play to be more in line with the command center first opener. He does get that observer first, which is going across the map right here, and we see the stalker patrolling this area here just in case BByong chose to do a concussive shell marauder marine attack. Zest would have a good heads up. He'd be able to either make another sentry to do a full wall off, make a stalker, chrono out an immortal. There's just a ton of options he could do as a result of having that stalker out in the front. But now he sends it back because the observer does get to BByong's base. Now I've been talking a lot about Zest's play, but I want to... Oh, damn it. I want to talk about... I barely missed that. I talked a lot about Zest's play, but I want to talk about BByong's play now. So in this first game, BByong ends up pretty much out-muscling Zest, and through sheer brute force is able to just crash through Zest's puny-looking army and deny his third for the rest of the game. When we look at the production tab, some things to note is that BByong took his factory at the 6 minute and 50 second mark. That's a normal-ish timing because he had to get that bunker out first. That zealot was out. If you get a bunker, then it delays your first two gases from being made for quite some time, for a good 10 to 20 seconds. And that delays your factory timing as well. So if he didn't get that bunker, his factory would have been closer to the, I believe, 6. It should be about like 6:30, give or take. I think it should be a little bit earlier than 6:30 if you are rushing out that factory. But no, BByong ends up taking his time with that factory, getting it closer to 7 minutes. The +1 starts at a normal time, stim starting at a normal time. The third gas is being taken at a normal time. You want to take that third gas as your factory starts. The add-ons are being added at a normal time. What's not being added at a normal time are these 4th and 5th barracks. So at the 7 minute 37 mark, more like 7 minute and 30 minute mark, we see the 4th and 5th barracks being added for BByong. So he's going to be on 5 barracks production by the 8:30-ish minute mark. I'm saying like ish because I'm not really that good with exact timings. I believe a barracks takes 65 seconds to build, so it just takes too much time to add it up in my head, so I'm just estimating here. So BByong is going to be opening up into a very, very powerful mid-game aggression by getting this 4th and 5th barracks up really fast. In Zest, his observer is in the main base, and it was floating around here, and it does go back to to scout. He does see the 4th barracks going down, and that should be a really big trigger that BByong is not getting a 3rd command center. In fact, if he's on 4 barracks at this point of the game, or you see him adding on a 4th barracks, chances are there's going to be a 5th barracks as well. And when you see that as a Protoss player, you know that the Terran's going to have a delayed 3rd expand, so you need to delay your 3rd expansion as well. What Zest ends up doing here is he takes his 3rd base really, really fast before the 9 minute mark. And all he has to defend against 5 barracks going into the mid game is a single Colossus production and 2 additional gateways that are just about to finish. Yes, he's been on 1 warp gate for the first 9 minutes of this game, which is insane. Like, even if he wanted to warp something in with this warp prism, he'd be able to only warp in 3 zealots, which is pretty puny against 5 barracks production. And now we see him adding 3 more additional gateways. However, they're not going to kick in until after the medevac timing is here, and after BByong starts to put his aggression on. So that's why you need to add the 3 gateways before your 3rd expand. We see here Zest going in. He goes in pretty deep. He was trying to, I believe, snipe some SCVs. He was being a bit greedy by going for the SCVs rather than that depot right there. And as a result, he has to get out of there as fast as possible because BByong's Stim Marines are right behind his tail. If he went and tried to get the depot, I think he would have been able to snipe it off because he's right next to the ledge, so he can pick up as soon as he sees the Marines coming, and BByong wouldn't be able to chase. But putting down the Colossus over there means that he won't be able to chase him. And we see here the 2 medevacs aren't even out yet, so the reason why Classic's Colossus drop was so effective against Pol, first, the map Nimbus is a very good map for this kind of Warp Prism play because of how far away the natural is from the third base and the main base. It's that in-base natural. And secondly, Polt's 2 medevacs were out now. They were already on the map. His army was already moving out onto the field to put some pressure on the Protoss player. But we see here, BByong's medevacs are just about to finish, and he didn't even get a chance to get out of position before Zest's Colossus drop came. And another reason for this could be Zest's slight changes to make his tech as fast as humanly possible, that 6-minute 30-second robotics bay, based on BByong's command center first. But that is neither here nor there. The important thing is that Zest ends up going away with 0 damage dealt, not even dropping the Colossus. I think he did it at this point. He didn't want to show that he was doing a Colossus drop. So, because if it's not a Colossus, it could have been DTs, it could have just been regular Zealots. It could have even been a hallucination. So, him not choosing to show that Colossus, I think, is very smart on his play. However, we see these 3 additional gateways just about to finish up. That's Zest's first warp-in round on the 3 warp gates that he has. And freaking BByong, man, look at that army. He's been on 5 barracks for a good 3 minutes. It's been 3 minutes since the 4th and 5th barracks has started, and Zest's extra 3 gateways just finished. So BByong is a couple production cycles ahead in military units, and that's also reflected in his supply. And it's also reflected in his late 3rd command center, all of which Zest scouted, but still chose to take that 3rd and play very greedily instead. Now, of course, this is in hindsight. This was played almost like a month and a half ago, so at the time it might not have been very crystal clear, but now it makes more sense of what you were supposed to do. We see the cool thing that BByong does here is that he first well, okay, so first of all, BByong has a build order advantage / win right here. At this point, his build has set him up into the game that there's simply no way that Zest, based on how he opened with that fast 3rd base, can defend this kind of multi-aggression. So, going back to the question, or the question that we created out of the statement, how does BByong's multi-aggression get out of control? What is one of the things that happened in the game that ends up spiraling this aggression to create an advantage that you cannot come back from? Oops, I shouldn't have pressed play. And one of those things is simply having a build order advantage by having the 5 barracks against a 3rd nexus with 6 warp gates, with the 3 warp gates just being finished now. That's why Zest is down so much supply and BByong is up so much supply. And as a result, even if Zest had his stalkers next to the Colossus, this double-pronged attack that's coming here, right there and right there on the minimap, he still wouldn't have been able to clean up this army. 3 Colossus is a lot, but it's not enough surface area to stop double-pronged attack, and he also doesn't have nearly enough sentries or a standing gateway army to defend against, or to soak up enough damage either. So now we know, or now I hope you guys understand a little bit more about why this kind of aggression seemed to do so much damage to Zest. I mean, BByong could have simply just sandwiched Zest's army in half, killed it off, then killed the 3rd base, then almost kill the main base as well. But instead, BByong goes for the natural Nexus snipe. He goes for the other Nexus snipe as well. So he ends up getting 2 Nexuses But Zest's standing army is still mostly alive. He still has 2 Colossus. He has that 1 Immortal. His 3 Sanctuary Force is almost alive up until this point. And Zest is kind of okay. Like, the reason why he doesn't just roll over and die at this point is because BByong chose to go for the economic advantage rather than the military advantage. So even though he's up by he's only up by 1 base right now, his 3rd base hasn't actually started mining yet. So it's not actually a 2 base advantage over the Protoss player. He does have a very large army, but because he didn't kill off BByong's army, or rather I should say Zest's army, he is not actually going to be able to win this game right away. He does do some more multi-aggression, and from this point on, it's very clear that BByong's goal is to play it out, deny Zest's base or 3rd base for as long as possible with these multi-pronged attacks, and end up starving him out. Zest is like, I mean, at this point, BByong has twice his army supply. He's up by 50 supply. He's making so many units. He's also up a base. He has every advantage possible. And this game still goes on for another, I don't know, about 5-ish minutes, because Zest still has a decent ground army. And as long as he doesn't lose that, he is still in this game. For Zest, he is in a very dire situation. He knows that. He knows the game is all but lost. And the only way to come back is to try to get to 200 and take a magnificent fight that will turn the tide in his favor. That is all he is hoping for. He is turtling his heart out to try to get to that stage. BByong's 2-pronged aggression, however, is splitting Zest's army apart so that it becomes very hard to defend multiple places at once on a 2-base economy. However, being only on 2 bases means that there's very little area to defend for Zest. So, denying that 3rd base, if he tried to keep it alive, then BByong would have squished his army, but Zest, he still has a good army. That's all that he's got going for him. And now that he's on 6 gateways, he's able to kind of not really crush this kind of a warp-in, but he's able to reinforce a lot better to stop these kinds of multi-pronged attacks. And we'll see in I think game 3 where this applies, where he only has 3 gateways and he tries to defend against these kinds of drops, and it just doesn't really work out when you warp in 3 zealots to defend against a double medevac drop. It's not nearly as scary. But BByong, he's doing these multi-pronged attacks still. He basically just wants to keep Zest off of 3 bases, as seen with his army parked right outside of the 3rd. I'm not sure if the factor is over here yet. I don't think it is. There's just some units there. So there's no way that Zest can sneak a 3rd base anywhere as well. And BByong's essentially maxed right now. However, his army isn't the best kind of an army versus Templar play. I really think he could have just stormed the front and went all gung-ho and, just rolled over Zest's army and tried to do a very brutal, just crash through the front door. But he still goes for this aggression. And as we see here, Zest is now on 6 gateways. He has a big enough army to defend multiple locations, and these forms of aggression aren't doing nearly as much damage as he would like. All the while, Zest is building up his ground army to slowly reach that 200 supply advantage. He cannot afford continuous Colossus production, continuous Gateway production, continuous Templar production. He can afford one of those, and by transitioning into the Templar tech, it's saving him from BByong's current composition, which is heavily based off of Widow Mines. There are 12 Widow Mines in this army, which are not very good against this kind of a unit composition that Zest currently has. So, although BByong is up by a lot of supplies, Zest has the superior army right now, and he's not going to roll over and die right away. One of the good things that BByong is doing, though, by sacrificing these units basically for free, is that he's freeing up more supply so that he can create a Ghost Viking composition that will be superior in unit comp to Zest's army. We see 4 Ghosts on the way, 2 Vikings. I disagree with those Widow Mines a lot. He already has way too many Widow Mines. They become a lot less effective against range units such as Archons, Colossus, Stalkers. But BByong chooses to make them anyways. This was back in the day when, well, not really too long ago, but when Widow Mines were all the craze. I believe True had just shown us his True build, going 5 barracks with the Widow Mine drop and doing some crazy Doom drop play with these Widow Mines, the newly patched Widow Mines, should I say, to just destroy greedier Protoss players. But now this isn't all too useful anymore because Protoss players know to play a lot more safer against these styles. They also know that if they can get up to a good unit composition like what Zest has, the Widow Mines don't become nearly as effective. BByong does have Ghost Viking now. He kind of whiffs an EMP. It does absolutely nothing. He loses, I believe that was 7 Ghosts for basically nothing. For maybe an EMP on a portion of the army, but not nearly enough. Yeah, not nearly enough to thwart this army. And the game continues. Those Ghosts, 7 Ghosts might not seem like a lot, but you have to remember that Ghosts are pretty damn expensive for how much supply they have, and that's why they create so much army value. It's because they're worth 200 minerals and 100 gas. That's why BByong also has no money right now, and he is on 4 base economy. But all he needs to do is simply deny Zest's 3rd base like he's doing here, and now Zest is in a world of hurt once again. At this point of the game, the main bases are basically mined out. The naturals are going to be mined out momentarily. It's about the 20-minute mark that the main base starts getting mined out of minerals. So Zest simply does not have a very good economy right now. Let's just put it at that. Normally you'd want to have 4 bases so that you can afford 8 to 10 warp in rounds, but he's so poor that he can only support, he's only on 1 base right now. As you see on the minimap, there's no minerals in his main. There's a little bit of minerals in his natural. In his 3rd base, he's long distance mining. So he can really only afford to warp in 3 to 4 gateway units at a time, or make like 1 Colossus. He's getting the observer speed. He's really trying to turtle here. That's the goal that he has. And he's slowly accomplishing that by climbing up in supply. His army value is getting a little bit better. Good EMPs by BByong though, getting the remaining High Templars. Zest still has 6 High Templars, but they're out of position in a safe spot, but also away from the fight. And as we see the actual fight unfold, Zest kind of is winning this, although the supply is a 50 supply difference. If he had another base and he was able to warp in like 10 more Zealots right now to reinforce, he wouldn't have lost all of those gas units. He wouldn't have had to warp those Templars into Archons, so he would have had more storms built up, and he would have been able to drive away this army and possibly pick off some medevacs as well. But he just does not have the economy to support. Oh, I have to mute Skype. Sorry about that. But he simply doesn't have the economy to keep up with BByong. BByong is just playing a very straightforward style way to win against someone else. It's by making them mine out and having a lot of money of your own. As we see reflected in the supply, BByong is able to use all of his production facilities, but Zest is not able to. BByong is also up 5 bases to 3, taking his 6th, so he's almost doubling the base count of Zest, and there's simply no more money in the budget for Zest to make more units, and GG is called. The first game ends, and we're going to go into game number 2. Now, what I'm going to do here is I don't want the video to go on too long. This has already been about 25 minutes, so I'm going to cut the video, and we're going to jump into game number 2. And since game number 2 is kind of short, I believe, we're going to do game number 2 and 3 in the part 2 of this video, just so the video doesn't get too long. So I will be right back. See you guys in a bit.